Hi everyone, welcome back to Mission 1820 and this week's episode of Have You Ever Wondered? If you're new to the channel, or maybe you're just joining us for the first time, we're in a series called Books of the Bible, and we've been giving introductions into each book of the Bible in just 5 minutes or less. So if you're ready to do this, let's go ahead and dive in to this week's book. This week, we are in the book of Titus. Now, this is the final epistle of the so-called pastoral epistles that were written by the Apostle Paul, along with the 2 books of 1st and 2nd Timothy, which we've covered already. Now, a little background on Titus, I believe, is in order to get a better understanding of him. See, Titus was a partner and a fellow worker of the Apostle Paul. And although Titus is not mentioned in the book of Acts, Paul's letters reveal that he was his right-hand man at a number of key points in Paul's life. And Paul first mentions Titus in the book of Galatians in chapter 2. Now, as an uncircumcised Gentile, Titus followed Paul and Barnabas to Jerusalem as the living example of a great theological truth, and that was that Gentiles did not need to be circumcised in order to be saved. Titus next appears in connection with Paul's mission to Corinth, and that while Paul was in Ephesus during his 3rd missionary journey, he received some pretty disturbing news from the church of Corinth. So what's he do? He sends Titus back to Corinth with a 3rd letter in order to encourage the Corinthians to repent, which they eventually end up doing. Now, Paul clearly held Titus in a position of great respect, not just as a friend, but as a fellow worker for the gospel. He praises Titus for his affection. He praises him for his earnestness, as well as his ability to bring comfort to others. Now, as for the book of Titus, it's a really short book. It takes you about 20 minutes to read. There's only 3 chapters, but chapter 1 has Paul advising Titus on the qualifications for church elders or bishops, as well as warning against false teachers. In chapters 2 and 3, Paul is advising Titus on speaking sound doctrine and to maintain good works, but he also lists the ideal characteristics for Christians in a society as a whole. Now, Paul wrote this letter to Titus from Nicopolis in AD 63, after the apostles released from his first Roman imprisonment and upon leaving Timothy in Ephesus to minister there. See, Paul then accompanies Titus to the island of Crete. This is where he intended Titus to lead and organize the island's churches during their early years. With the book of Titus, Paul wanted to emphasize sound doctrine. He wanted also to challenge believers to do good works. See, Paul tells us in Titus chapter 3, verse 8, when he says to affirm constantly that those who have believed in God should be careful to maintain good works. So how can we apply this really short book of Titus to our own lives? Well, the book reminds us that our beliefs about God impact every decision we make. Sometimes it's even difficult for believers today to really see the point of getting all worked up about the person and nature of Christ, or even the doctrine of the Trinity. However, Paul makes it very clear that the church that teaches and preaches sound doctrine, well, they're certainly going to see the results in the lives of their people. See, churches today seem to focus more on the form of their worship as an entertainment venue, rather than the teaching and preaching of sound doctrine. Because in a world such as ours today, we cannot be reminded enough that we need to hold fast to the truth of the gospel of our salvation. So with that, I hope this introduction is going to help get you started in the book of Titus. So God bless, and thanks for watching.